Hi. This is. Oh, yeah, we're on. Okay. This is Tahtahme, the Sacred Bruja, and I'm kind of doing an extension of today's Sacred Sister Circle because it, for whatever reason, I'm glitching on YouTube. A song that's been played many times before on other sister circles, for whatever reason, this time, even last Monday, I played it. For whatever reason, this time, it's not allowed to be played in the United States. So we are going to redo what I thought was a really important sister circle or part of it, and really enjoy it. I mean, other people can see that video, just nobody in the United States, which is like, I run a Hoodoo sister circle, so that doesn't make any sense. Anyways, so I'm here to connect with anybody who cares on Facebook, and then I'll download it off of Facebook and upload this onto YouTube so people can have it there too. Um, but I just wanted to redo our face jug session, or our oil lamp. I made a little oil lamp earlier. This is this little guy. I have put a wick in him. Oh, there we go. You can kind of see him. I put a wick in him, and I filled him with oil. The wick, it needs about an like it says, several hours is usually. I've never measured the time before, but I definitely left it in too short. I tried to light it maybe 10 minutes ago, and it was smoking a lot. It got really big and smoked a lot. So I know that it definitely needs a little bit of time to soak a little longer. It's only been in there about an hour and a half. But yeah, this is the little guy I made earlier today. So I figured I would make another one right now. So, first things first, your materials that you need. You will need clay. Either you buy it. I have just air dry terracotta clay that I got off of Amazon because at the time I was at a really like at a place where I was like, I need a lot of clay, and they had it for a really good price. And I actually really enjoy this brand a lot better than other brands I've ever used before. So I don't know, it says Amico. It's a really pretty brand. The clay is really dark and rich, and I think as long as you keep it moist while you're molding with it, it turns out really well. So you need some clay. You can buy it and, pray over it after that. Or you can choose to go to a riverbank. Usually if you live in the South, you should be able to really find those good rich clays around the riverbanks. And I wouldn't say in California I've ever found a really, I mean, I just lived around the bay mostly here, but I've never really found like a nice clay to get into. But when I lived in Kentucky, I mean, all the earth smelled nice there. So I do know that, the South has some nice stuff. Hey, Kara. And so yeah, you can get your clay naturally if you're in a place where you can do that, or you can travel, you can like get some clay and like keep it for a little while. Clay can keep it if you keep it moist. And usually it can restart if you put more water on it. So yeah, you can use the clay, and then what else? You need some water. I have here some cinnamon water. I like the cinnamon water because I think it makes everything smell nice, and it gives everything a nice feeling while you're doing it. Cinnamon's one of those things that adds, prosperity, and it adds I don't know, it's just this comfort thing for me mostly. It's not a necessity at all, and really I've never seen anybody else mix their water up and stuff. Another thing I've put in the water is rose petals because I like the red the red water. It just feels sacred and nice and special when you bless the water and you consecrate it. So, and this is a spiritual activity, so you should be doing that. So I've decided to go with this like chimes music. This isn't even music. This is like somebody hitting a bowl. This is like the chillest I've ever listened to while making one of these. All right, let's see. You will need something to decorate yours with. You can leave them blank. You can put shells on them, beads on them, paint. On terracotta, you can use acrylic or you can use watercolor. And I don't know, I've never used a marker or anything, but I'm sure a marker, if you're just writing on yours, that would be totally fine. I don't see why not. But I think acrylic paint really gives it that bold. I typically use acrylic paints because I like how it looks. It looks really pretty and nice. So, anyways, so that's decor. And then if you're going to, if you're going to use it long term, you need to have, this is Krylon triple thick crystal clear glaze. Now, it depends on what kind of finish you want. Again, I like the really shiny finishes. I like the really like fun look. So it's just kind of up to you how you want yours to look. I think that when you use the really thick crystal one though, it really brings out the color. If you use color, if you use shells, or if you use, any of those little things, make sure the shells are all wiped clean of any clay, and then spray with this, and it just kind of brings the whole thing to life. So you definitely would need to use this though if you want it to be long term, because if not, you'll drop it, or you'll you'll leave it out in the weather for half a second and it will be gone because it's earth. And then if you want to make yours into a oil lamp, you buy fiberglass wicks. These are really cheap on Amazon as well. I use that Amazon, you know what I mean? And if you're a student or if you're on welfare, you also get like Amazon Prime half off. So just letting you know. Okay, use that student ID or that welfare card for something else. And so it's really cheap. It was really cheap to get my hands on this. And you will also need, this is Firefly Clean Fuel for oil lamps, lanterns, and candles. So there you go. It's just clear looking. But you can also use olive oil, all those other oils that you technically can burn. It just will probably not smell as good. But if you have like a situation and you're like, all I have is, I have olive oil and clay, you should just use olive oil and clay. And you can also, the fiberglass wicks are not totally necessary too. Traditionally used was cotton wicks, which also burn, like have a little bit more smoke than the fiberglass tend to. And the fiberglass lasts a really long time, theoretically like years and years, as long as you don't put it in the water. Your fiberglass wick should last for a really long time, for a really, really long time. And they last a little less because I cut them. I cut mine small to fit inside these jars. I made a tiny little guy this morning, very small and hand sized, but the flame is pretty good size. But these are like when you're looking at all of this and you break down how much it is, it's cheaper than going out and getting those candles. This will burn for days. You want something that will burn 7, 14, 30 days. Like you can keep filling this up and keep upkeeping, what you're putting inside of it, which is, beyond oils. Obviously, you could be putting your specific herbs and things inside of it, petitions, whatever you're doing. So anyways, there are even cheaper ways of doing this than this. But when you're using the cotton, when you're using the fiberglass, the key is obviously you have to let it soak all the way the oils. So anyways, I think that's all I said. Oh, and then you need like a knife or like, I have a chopstick or a toothpick. I've used just one toothpick and just my hands in the clay and made one of these before too. Okay, so to start, I would need to pour myself a little bit of water from my cinnamon water here. And this is just to keep the clay wet. So you're going to start off with like 2 good-sized balls. Now, while I'm working this clay, because it's going to take me half a second, we'll get into the history of why we have these face jugs in the first place. Okay, so we're going to take this all the way back to prior to colonization. Right? We're going to trace Black people, generally speaking, Black people from America back to the west coast of Africa, as well as the Congo. And in the Congo, they have something they call Nkisi dolls, Nkis dolls, and those were dolls. Oh, look at me, I'm like covered in nature. Those dolls were hollow in the stomach. It was a full doll. It was a face with dramatic features. Those that, you know, we typically, I think in, you know, a lot of African art, we will see certain features are more dramatized than others. So they have very dramatic faces, very clear faces, very lots of characteristics within the faces. Each one is very much an individual, but, you know, similar at the same time. So these dolls were hollow inside, and things would be put inside the dolls through the belly button. And the, you know, this might be herbs, this might be a fluid, this might be, you know, whatever it is that was said needed to go inside of it. Obviously, you would consult a professional, or maybe intuitively you would know. I mean, these dolls were made out of wood, and so I think some were iron. And so, you know, they were crafted by professionals. You didn't just like have them laying around as much. And you didn't just have it for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't like today, you know, you go to Ross, you see this statue, you're like, this is a cool statue, I'm just gonna have this in my house. Like, it obviously it wasn't like that. If you had one in your house, it was for a reason. And so this tradition of filling this thing up, and then they would, you know, cover the belly button. It would be clogged, plugged, and you would not open it up again. It was not like, let me go back and do something else. Like, it was done. And the doll would then be used for that purpose, whatever that purpose was. So when that tradition carried over to America, obviously the use of it kind of changed because the needs kind of changed. What people were doing was they started using them, you know, for the things that they needed them for. First of all, because we could not, you know, follow the older traditions, the older religions, for fear of, you know, being taken down or whatever, we had to kind of eliminate the body portion of it. It couldn't be a full figure. It couldn't be a full figurine as before. And a very logical way of, you know, moving from that was to have the head be hollow and have it be a jug, a very useful thing that was just very typical to have around. So you would have these jugs being used and being made, and you know, making the jugs, especially at that time, again, was pretty much done by professionals a lot of the time, though they made a lot. They made a lot of these jugs, and they weren't really considered professionals because they were slaves. But when people would be bought, they would often be bought because they were skilled in a certain trade. And often when people were taken from Africa, they would ask for people in specific trade. They would say, hey, I need somebody who is an iron worker. We need people who are skilled. And they did recognize they were skilled. And that was something that, you know, they would say when you came here. They would say they can do this, they can do that. So pottery was one of those things. Ceramics, ironwork. I mean, ironworking has been in Africa for how long? You know what I'm saying? So we had a lot of these things for a very, very long time. People who've been apprentices under their families done this for generations. All they do is, either, you know, they might ironwork, they might make these specific dolls, they might make these specific artwork, whatever it is. And yeah, whatever it is, it would pass on, and it would be in the family for a long, long time. So when they came here, it was, you know, logically that continued. People continued to teach each other. People continued to, you know, ceramics, especially because it was kind of a freeing thing to do. They they were able to really express themselves. And I think one of the cool things about Face Jugs is that it's not really something you see from anyone else at the time. Like when you think about having, you know, a piece of ceramics and they were just putting these crazy faces on them, it's so innovative. And so when you think about making your own face jug, I think you need to keep that spirit in mind. You know, making your thing more modern, making it, pushing the boundaries of what other people are doing, pushing the boundaries of what has already been done, while still honoring the old tradition, because that's kind of what they were doing at that time. And I think, you know, that's always what indigenous art is really about. So what I'm doing now is I had a ball and I stuck my thumb into it and I'm going around now and pinching it. This is what's called a pinch pot. That's very simple. So I'm going to keep it wet. But I'm going to make 2 of these pinch pots. So again, I had a ball, stuck my thumb into it, and just start pinching around and make it into a bowl. Okay, so our ancestors used these, you know, they would have a few that came out to the field, so it looked like that's what we used them for, right? Okay, well, you know, these ones are just to drink out of. But in actuality, most of these were not used just to, you know, mess around with. When we put the faces on the pots, that was specifically for us. First of all, that's not something that went into like the master's house. And then second of all, it was a way of marking our graves for a lot of us. We weren't legally allowed to do so. We weren't legally allowed to say, hey, this important elder, this important youth, this person that meant a lot to us, who we all cherished, is now gone. We were not allowed to mark those places. That's why we are always saying, oh, there's unmarked grave. Well, what else would it be? We were literally not allowed to mark the graves. And so one of the ways that the graves were marked, or the places were marked, or somewhere special that meant something to you, even if your body wasn't there, was marked, was by putting a face jug there with your favorite materials, that person's favorite materials. So that's why even today you'll see there are, if you go online, you try and look up face jugs, you'll get quickly depressed. You'll find a lot of art galleries with these face jugs that white people will dig up from all over the South. They'll dig these jugs up and sell them for $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, depends on which one you get, where it is, how old it dates to be. But they're making money. And, you know, and we don't have the money, unfortunately, it seems, to excavate them properly, or, you know, what's it called? The archaeologists about it. We don't have the ability or the means and the funding. And so, you know, that's a part of our history is still buried out there. And we can't, we're having trouble reclaiming it, I would say. And one of the ways that you can reclaim it is by keeping up the tradition, making it yourself, because these are, you know, making little things of clay with your hands is a way of honoring the past. It's a way of putting your own energy into something you're doing. And then it's just so personal, I think. And it's so much more personal than just a candle, like a Dollar Tree candle that somebody rolled in, like, you know, a bunch of stuff or whatever, and then you bought it for $10. You know what I mean? It's going to save you a lot more money. So you're making 2 pinch pots about the same size. You just kind of continue in a circle until you have 2 that are around the same size, and you can like kind of put them together and you feel like they'll mostly fit together when I try. I then take my toothpick, or I have my chopstick, but I said toothpick in the other thing. You are going to make little grooves on here, and the little grooves are going to stick these two together and make the full thing. And so somebody didn't really teach me this technique. This is just something I like. When I saw somebody make a pinch pot one day, I was like, wait, I can make a face jug. So I just went ahead and did that. And then later on, I was able to find a video where somebody did something really similar. So, but it was a white lady. She was really excited. She was trying to teach about, because, you know, there's, I want to say his name's Edward. I don't know why, but he's a very famous potter. White people love this guy. He is a black man slave, I'm pretty sure, or just right after. I'm not sure actually. Either way, he would make the ceramic pots, but what he would do is he would carve like proverbs, but not just proverbs, sayings, poems, little things for like his family and friends, you know, just like he was the type of guy who had like rhymes for his friends, rhymes for his family. And he you know, it really impressed the white people that he would write on the pots. They were like, what? He's writing on the pots. And they were so impressed, you know, and his family and friends was like more impressed, you know, because he had like a way with his words, and he had a way with the community. And, you know, there's no telling how many of these pots he made, but he made a ton. And there's some like kids books and stuff. A lot of people honor this guy. And he's one of the more famous. It's similar to the face jug tradition. Like, he was in the same vein, but it was his own way of doing it. And I think that's what we have to like remember when we're doing this type of tradition and we're doing this type of thing. Just how, you know, free we really can be with it, which is why I make, you know, the oil lamps. And I think, you know, even if you make just a plain one, you don't put a face on it, or you do your own thing with it, you make it yours. It's so important to keep up the tradition. So what I'm doing now is, I told you I had slip. Now, I didn't even explain what that was, I think. Basically, slip is you put a little bit of clay with a little bit of water, and you dissolve it in there. And you, once it's dissolved, it kind of acts like a glue. And so you're going to put it, after you put the grooves, you're going to put this like kind of glue inside. Oh, that's my son. I will be right back. Oh, let's see what he needs. What do you need? Okay. So, sorry about that. My babies. All right. So I put the slip on not to break the grooves. I'm not trying to get into smoothing them out or anything. It's just kind of lightly putting this stuff on, acting like a little bit of a glue. It's a little easier when I have a paintbrush, but I wanted to kind of just do this with minimal. Okay, so next I have it on both. I have the grooves on both. I put both pieces together and kind of push them together. And then I'm going to draw the lines over both of these. So I'm kind of connecting them. Okay. All right, then I'm going to kind of just smooth the two sides together, and we're going to try and connect it all. So we can ensure the two sides don't fall apart. His attitude right now, he's up to here with his sister. It's like, what are you doing? Gotta go back to them. All right. So as you can see, I've connected both of them. It's hollow inside. It's perfect to, I'm going to make a hole on the top. Either, if it depends on what you're doing. If you are making just a jug for putting something inside, either for pouring, libations, making a jar spell, whatever it is you're doing with the jar, you just make one simple hole at top, as big as you need. And if you are making the oil lamp, you will make two holes. One hole is just wide enough for your fiberglass wick, right, or your other wick, whatever it may be, and one hole to pour the oil and give it some breathing room. So you're pouring your oil and putting your other things in there too. So I'm going to make this one because I already made that other oil lamp earlier today. I might make this one just a jug. So you just start by going in the middle and make it slowly widened. Okay. So here we go. I've made my hole at the top. I've been able to smooth it from the inside now. It's very, very thick. Okay, a very thick guy here. Okay. But overall, there you go. And I sit it down a few times so he can sit. And now it's ready for a face. So I showed earlier that you can use those little things that you get at the bottom of a fishbowl. You have, like they're flat on one side and they're curved on the other side. And if you paint one side of them, they look like an eye when you put them on. You can also just use clay, like this guy. Can you see him? There we go. Just use some clay and make your little face. You can, oh, here we go. Here's my little friend with the glass eyes. She has like sea wave eyes. And let's see the one I did earlier today. You can see he's got big eyes. So, you know, the eyes are however you'd like them. Oh, and the other way is, you know, you can just simple 4 cowrie shells, 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. Simple, effective. And that one's really good just for, you know, an ancestor altar, however you express yourself with that. Or, you know, even for the sea. I did put a shell on my other ones. So, oh yeah, and then that one had a shell mouth. Okay. Anyways, so to start, with, I don't think I have any that are pre-colored. But yeah, it doesn't even take that long, you know, it takes about 2 minutes to dry on those. So, we're going to make a quick face here. We'll start with the eyes. He's not happy with her. I might have to leave you guys again. So again, if you were going to make the need to make an oil lamp, you'd put another hole. Make sure the hole is far enough away that the 2 holes don't connect. And you can make another hole, stick the fiberglass wick in there. So to attach something, you make those grooves again, you put a little of that stuff again, you'll put the other one right on where you want it to go, and you'll attach by pushing on, and then attaching all the way around, pushing the clays into each other. This is such a weird time for my family. I've got like my husband like raging on his computer games in like one ear, and like my kids are like fed up. All right. All right. I'm gonna go check on my son real quick. Oh. dramatic son. It's like making himself fall over and then crying. Okay. Where are we? Okay, so we have 2 eyes. You can make the eyelids. And again, make your little marks. And attach them. And I think that the eyelids give it like a very humanized look. But yours can be however you want, obviously. And, you know, keeping in mind that the tradition also, oh, that reminds me, I didn't even finish talking about the tradition. Okay, so we were talking about how they use them for marking the graves. And the reason that they're ugly traditionally is that the ugly face deters evil spirits and allows for your ancestor to be able to make it to the spiritual realm intact. You know, without issues, without problems, without all of that. So, traditionally, they aren't very beautiful. But, depending on what you're making your face jug for, it can be, you know, however you'd like. And I think it's also good to make your own because then you don't have to rely on somebody else. You don't have to be, you know. And then also when you have the ability to make your own, I don't know, your vision is able to be more complete, I think. Plus people are always like, I feel like they expect a lot for like a $20 purchase or a $10 purchase or however they do. So I think it's, you know, sometimes it's better to just, you know, have people do it themselves because, you know, if you want like a high level of accuracy, you'll end up paying a lot of money or you'll be gypping somebody who rightly deserves to have more. So what I did here, I just made a little snake and fashioned the snake into a set of lips. And I'll just be smoothing this set of lips on, connecting it with the face. Generally, mine, I guess, tend to look cuter than they should. They're also really small, so it's hard to get all those like crazy details in there. But you can make these really big if you'd like. You just need to keep it moisturized, or you could try doing this with ceramics, which I think looks really easy. You know, they just slap all that on there and huge face jugs. And there's only one guy I've seen who like learned from people who did this traditionally. I forget his name too. I'm struggling today. But the point is that he carries on the tradition as well. And any simple Google search, he's the only one. Any simple Google search will lead you to him about face jugs because he is the only person still making them. And his range from like $400 to like $1,000 each just because he's the only one making them who's traditional, who's legitimate. Who learned from a master. And he's in South Carolina, so if you want to learn from him, he does teach. He actually does teach. I'm gonna take off a little bit. Actually, make them thinner. So again, I just draw on here. Add some of this slip. And again, you just try and push the edges down to meld into the surrounding clay, and then you're just going to smooth everything out, Now, we can get into, you know, what you can use these for. You can use these for sigil magic. You can write on them, right? Or you can write a prayer on them, a specific prayer on them, paint it on it, carve it on it. On the bottom, you can carve a sigil or a dinka symbol, something that means something to you. Taka, I cannot help you right now. I just gave you a ton of food, my friend. Okay. Then you also, let's see, you can use these for the oil lamp. You can use them for the jar spell. You can put things in it and then plug it up, or you can just put things in it and keep it open. You can be putting, you know, your petitions in here, even if it's got the oil in there. Even with the oil in there, you can put your petitions in there, and you can put your herbs in there. You can be putting your oils and your mixture oil in there, special oil for you. You can anoint this with an oil. I always anoint mine with my oud, right? I use the oud from the royal bloodline. I really love that stuff. So you can anoint it with the oud. You can use it for money on your altar. You saw I have my guy here. This guy, straight off the altar. He's somebody I made for, or she, I guess, is somebody I made for somebody else. And then they didn't like it, and then I was like, you know what, I actually ended up growing, she grew on me, and so she ends up on my altar every time I find a dime, or I feel, you know, the need, I'll put a little something in. She got her locks and her pearls, and then I have, you know, the one I use for libations at the sister circle, libations, that's all this girl's used for, and, let's see what else. You can use it for a plant. You can grow something in them. You can use it on your front porch to, you know, scare away certain visitors or scare away, you know, certain energy from your home, protect your home. You can put something in the four corners of each of your home, put a little protector. You can, let's see what else, put them in your garden. Put them as a little guardian in your garden, or you can use them for ashes. You can use them for holding, like, your healing salts that you know, use at the altar. You know, keep it full and have a little spoon nearby and, you know, use it like that. Let's see, you can use fluids in here. If you spray it with this stuff, you should be fine. Just spray inside as well. Spray on the outside, and give it several coats, let it completely dry, and you can put fluids in here, plug it up. You can bury these. Let's see. I would say just use your imagination. I wouldn't want to, you know, lead you somewhere and say you have to do something just because I do it or just because somebody else does it. But all of these can be used, and it's really simple. It's really simple. And then again, if I wanted to put my fiberglass in here, let's see, maybe this guy is ready. We'll see. This is the one I made this morning. And the reason I also wanted to show you that you can just fill this up and, like, have the fiberglass in there real quick is that, what's it called? It's that these can be disposable. It, like, doesn't have to be permanent. You don't have to spray it with the stuff and keep it forever. Like, let's say you use it for something, and when that time is done, you crush it, you get water, you crush it down. Maybe it was only for the night, you crush it down, or maybe it was for something in particular, and you just release it into the water and it will disintegrate from there. So that is completely up to you. Okay. So actually we'll see. The window is right there. Right before I let you go and go take care of my kids. Let's see. Can you see it? Okay. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Let's see how big this gets. Oh, it's doing all right. It's doing. No, I don't think it's ready. There you go. That's a simple lamp right here. This was made just this morning, and the wick is, it's pretty good. It could use a little more time to soak, but it's pretty good. Can you see here? Here he is. Very simple. It's cheap, and it's effective. There you go. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, you can totally ask in the comments, because I'm sure I missed a bunch of things that I had meant to include. But overall, and I also wanted to say, be sure while it's still wet to stick an incense stick in it so that you can have incense in it if that is what you are choosing for yours. I think all of mine have it. No, not this one. This little girl. But this guy does. Over here somewhere behind his eye, he has an incense holder. Anyway, oh, there. Anyway. All right. But yes, so there you have it. Simple, easy, cheap, and old school. I'm going to blow this guy out because he's just not ready to be lit. Oh. There we go. He's not ready. He wasn't ready. Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Tahtahme, the Sacred Bruja, and I enjoyed my time with you guys here. And I hope my other video is not permanently taken out of business.